Hey, what's up, fam? I hope everyone's doing well. I know I'm doing well. How are you doing today, Chris?
Doing well, brother. How are you?
Just well?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you great. I can see you great, too. You're so handsome. You're so handsome. So, thanks everyone for stopping in. I know I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and I finally have the opportunity to get in and talk about mental health, specifically men's mental health, something that like I've struggled with, and I know other men have struggled with. I mean, other people in general have struggled with, but I think there's a problem sometimes with men not wanting to get help with their mental health. Excuse the math in the back. I was tutoring someone earlier with maths. Is it backwards for you? Does it show up backwards?
On your stream, yes.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
It's going to confuse everyone. But I want to jump right into it, and today I have a really, really special guest. You know?
Why am I special?
Because you're a great person. I think you're a big reason why I have a lot of like my streaming equipment. Like, you definitely someone that's helped out a lot and like pushed me to do like more and more things. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's all for when you make it big and you sign a multi-million deal with Twitch. You know, I'm gonna come back and haunt you. I'm gonna say, Battle, give me a cut.
I'll just have you around.
Give me a cut.
Well, everyone, I want you to meet my dear friend Chris.
Hello.
Chris is a Navy veteran also, but I'll let him talk about himself. But yes, Chris is also a mod for me on Twitch, which is really awesome. He goes in and deletes random stuff when people like spam the Twitch, and sometimes a lot of bots come in and get a lot of random stuff in my stuff and try to make me pay for followers. I'm like, what? No.
I am not your most active mod. The credit goes to the others that do a lot of the work.
I feel like you're on there like every stream. At least you're up there, and you pop in at least every stream. So yeah.
When it
You're
comes
good.
to moderating, though, not as much.
But yeah, so Chris and I have been friends for a while. I think it wasn't 2015, it was 2016, because that's when I actually like transferred
Okay.
over.
Yeah, I was trying to remember, and the years all kind of blend together. So it's been about 4 years, going on 5, right?
Yeah, it's crazy how fast like time goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself and I guess how we met?
Okay.
The funny story of how we met.
You know, it's funny on here. On our Discord call, we're facing away from each other, but you've reversed it on the stream, so it looks like we're just staring at one another. I love it. So you and I met in 2016, right? That's what you said. I, like Battle said, I'm also a Navy vet. I was also a Navy corpsman, also a field medical technician corpsman. You know, we were both 8404s, which is that whole thing. I don't want to get too much in the weeds of that.
I was also 8701. I was both.
You were better than me. It's funny that Battle and I probably walked by each other multiple times.
Yeah.
Back when we were both stationed in Lejeune and just never knew it. Because you worked at French Creek Dental at some point, right? And I used to go over there all the time.
Yeah.
Because my battalion's building was right next door, and I was the dental liaison, so I was always over there skating and not getting any work done. Is better?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we probably walked by one another, who knows how many times, but got out of the Navy, moved to Charlotte because it was close enough to home that we could visit, but not so close so my parents could just pop in. I know Battle has an Asian mother as well, so you kind of know how that goes.
Yes.
So I was working as a peer mentor at UNC Charlotte.
Sorry.
And so I was mentoring a student who mentioned he had a friend in one of his classes that was also a veteran. Had like brought some stuff up, but he didn't really know how to talk to that person. You know, without going into any specifics. And then I reached out. I think I reached out to you. I think you gave me your number or an email or something. I don't remember the exact thing. But I was like, hey, come to the lounge and come hang out sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you came. And then
I did.
We
hard.
Yeah, and fast and all over the place. And we kind of were just, shooting the breeze there. And then the funny little story about Battle is he likes to just say little weird things all the time and see how you react to them. So like he was like, I'm waiting on a ride from my wife. She's a janitor here. And I don't know what you were expecting me to react or how or whatever, but I was like, okay, like, and and then you were like, yeah, she's not a janitor. Like 5 minutes later, you let me like stew on that for like 5 minutes. And I don't, it's been a hallmark of Battle's personality ever since. There's so many times that you like troll me and I just sit there and I'm like, why am I friends with this guy? Like he's just constantly trolling me.
Yeah, I went over to his house not too long ago to like help him move and stuff. Where we had our masks on.
Yes. You had your masks on.
Yeah. And I just stared at him. And he sometimes when I stare at him, he thinks like I'm saying stuff, but I'm just sitting there like quietly and he's like, you're doing it again. And I'm like, yeah. What?
You're doing that thing.
What's that thing?
What are you thinking about? Yeah. So that's how we got to know each other, and we hung out a couple of times, and then over time, really, I feel like you've become more than a friend. Like obviously we don't hang out all the time, and we have our own lives. And I see your little eyebrows.
Eyebrow.
We all. We have things going on, we're not like seeing each other every day and things like that. But I mean, my kids think of you as like their uncle. That's what they call Battle. They call him Uncle Battle, and they love him to death. Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of our relationship, I mean, like I think you're like a brother to me. I mean, we weren't technically brother in arms like in the same unit or anything, but like I feel like that bond, we didn't really have it while we were active because we didn't know each other, but that's how close I feel to you, these days. You're at the top of that list. I mean, you're the emergency contact for my kids. That's how much I trust you guys, you and Melinda. So I think that kind of like, if you had to ask me how close are we, I'd be like, yeah. I trust the two of them together. I trust them with my kids, so that's our relationship, really.
That's sweet, dude. Yeah, I definitely have a super soft spot for Chris. You can't tell, but Chris is extremely tall. How tall are you, Chris?
6'2".
Yeah. I'm 5'3", 5'4" on a good day, depending on if I'm wearing my boots or not. And it's just fun being around Chris. He's a great hugger too. He gives pretty good hugs. Well, when you can, at least. Like,
yeah,
we can't hug each other. It's been like air hugs, which has been awkward because I just love giving Chris hugs. He gives the best hugs, in my opinion.
We grew our hair out together.
Oh yeah, we totally did grow our hair out together.
Like basically at the same exact time, stopped cutting our hair, right? And then
it's going on.
The longest time you were ahead of me. Your hair was growing faster.
Yeah.
And then you started, putting it up like in locks and stuff. And like now I think I'll have a little bit of length on you.
Yeah, dude.
That's only because your hair is not straight.
Bro, your hair has gotten so long so fast, it seems like.
The longest it's ever been. My mother hates it.
Yeah, my mom doesn't like mine either. I think it's an Asian mom thing.
Yeah.
He's just like, please cut it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
please stop asking me.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. The more you ask me to cut it, the less inclined I am to do so.
So, getting into the meat and potatoes of it,
Whoa, whoa, whoa! I thought you don't eat meat anymore.
I don't eat meat.
So you gotta say like the TVP and potatoes of it.
TVP, everyone, is textured vegetable protein. It's like a mixture of like vegetables that has like a stringy like meat texture to it.
Hey, it's come a long way.
It has come a long way.
15 years ago, it tasted pretty bad these days.
And by the way, people that are freaking out about like impossible meat or meat that looks like it's bleeding, all it is beet juice. Yeah. That's how they make it red and look like blood. It's beet juice. But yes, so the TVP and potatoes. Let's get into it. Mental health is our topic, and you know, before we start, I want to let everyone know that once we're docs, we were not doctors, and we are not doctors now, so we won't give any medical advice. That's just something that we can't do, even if we were doctors, to do it on like a live platform like this. Super unethical to give like stuff like that over the internet to complete strangers, so don't expect that here. However, we are open to discussion, and we'll give like our anecdotal or self like evidence or opinions on things, and everything is again from personal accounts and everything. And you know, I've said it before, Oh Hello Blogs for me is somewhere where we can talk about, we'll play video games of course, but talk about like pretty dense subjects and not feel judged by it and not feel pressure to talk about things. So anything that we do talk about is what we feel comfortable about talking about. So with that in mind, Chris, mental health. When you first, I know that it's such a broad subject, like when you first think about mental health, what do you think about it, and like how do you feel towards like different treatments available for people?
You know, I think that anybody that maybe is in let's say good mental health, when you bring up the topic, they think of it like as a broad topic, like you know, mental health to others or whatever. But then if anybody's ever had some sort of mental health issue, when you say mental health and what do you think of, then you automatically kind of go inwards instead, right? So when you say mental health, I start thinking of things that I myself have had issues with and things like that. Like Battle said, you know, this is a place to be comfortable and talk about things. That's also to say that I've had close to maybe 8 years now of therapy that I've been going through myself. You know, I have a gamut of things that I have issues with. You know, everything from anxiety to depression to PTSD and things like that. It kind of runs the whole spectrum of things. And as probably anybody else that's dealing with those issues, you know, you know that not every day is the worst day, right? You have, you know, some days are great, some days are okay. You know, it's all over the place, right? And
Yeah.
so it's a very, I think, yeah, we're going to go into this later, but it's a tough thing to talk about. But you know, I think if it's one of those things that you really want to work on and you start actually digging down and doing the hard work, you can start talking about it more honestly, like your own personal issues and things like that. So, and you were saying, you mentioned treatments. I mean, I think these days I do a lot of it's teleconference, tele therapy.
I've done that too. I actually have an appointment coming up in the next couple of weeks, like a teleconference thing.
Yeah. So my therapist, they have like a secure portal thing. It's not like a Zoom or a Google Meet or anything. It's like their own software. You know, talk to a therapist for an hour. It's not the same as sitting in a room with somebody, but you know, just being able to talk to people about these things is great. I tend to kind of these days go more towards like the natural side of things, like meditation, you know, and relaxation type things. I'll do an anecdotal story. You know, when I first got back from Afghanistan, I was having a lot of, they call it attitude adjustment, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the broad term to use.
Yes.
Um,
Drinking my water because it's uncomfortable.
yeah, I popped off on a guy. One of my friends, like Battle said, we were corpsmen. So one of my Marines had come into the clinic. He needed something very routine. It was like some blood work or something for, like he was doing a screening for something. Like he was about to go to school. Like, so he had to go do a blood work panel and all this stuff. It was very routine stuff. And so I just happened to be in the treatment room, and he came to me. Like he didn't go through the line or get an appointment or anything. He just came to me as like a favor. So I was like, yeah, I'll hook it up. You know, I got you. So I go next door to the record room, and we had one of those like split doors that you could open the top of, but the bottom was still closed. So top's open, bottom's closed. I walk over, and there's a new kid sitting there, and he had come from I can't remember what they call it, but there's a battalion of just corpsmen just sitting there waiting to get jobs over.
Like med battalion?
Yeah, med battalion. So he was one of
yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. I knew people in med battalion. Actually, I deployed with med.
He was a med battalion guy, so he was like, he was sitting
what am
there,
I doing here?
Yeah, he was sitting there playing Clash of Titans on his phone, like just sitting there playing on his phone, sitting right in front of the door. And I was like, hey man, can you grab this record? And I said the numbers or whatever. And he was like, yeah, give me a second. And he's still playing his phone, right? And he's
Were you
like,
a third class?
I was a third class.
What was he, like an HA or an HN?
Yep. And I had my pen. I like got back like 3 days ago.
Super motivated.
Oh, dude. And I was like, no, right now, bro. And like he said, yeah, give me a second. And I kicked the door in. Like I didn't open the door. I like kicked the door in, and it hit his like leg or something.
Break his leg?
No, but he stood up real quick, and he was big. I didn't quite tell from him sitting, but he stood up and he was the same size as me. And I kind of like lost it there for a second. Like I don't really quite remember what happened. Like kind of blacked out almost. Mm-hmm. And then when I like sort of refocused, like my buddy and like another one of my friends was like holding me back, and like there's other people yelling and stuff, and I had like a knife in my hand. Like he had just like literally him standing up hit that like that threat thing in my brain, and I pulled a knife because I was like, he's bigger than me, or the same size, like, you know. So that happened. I apologized and all that stuff, you know, but I went to my IDC and I said, hey, look, this is not cool. Like I who knows what could have happened, you know? Yeah. That's not what I want to be doing. Like I don't need to be doing that. And so they made me an appointment with mental health on Camp Lejeune, and it was like a week or two later I went over there, and I walk in and I'm expecting to like sit down and talk to a therapist, or right? No. It's not what happened. So the doctor, civilian doctor, comes over, hands me a bag. In it is a bunch of prescriptions. Said, take those to the pharmacy. I read your record and I read the report. I think this medication cocktail is going to work best for you. Go get your pills, take them for a month, call me back, and let me know how you feel. That was my first brush with mental health in the military. And so I did it. I went and took those pills, man. And I mean, you know, later on and talking to some other people, they were like, you were on like 3 or 4 different mood stabilizers. Like you had the Prozac, and then there was this other medication to help you stop grinding your teeth at night, but it's also like an antidepressant. So you're taking 2.
I think it's probably like Remeron.
So like
Remeron was one of the ones that like help with grinding and sleeping.
Yeah, and then they're giving you Lunesta on top of that. So like you're stacking multiple antidepressants and sleep medication and all this stuff. So I did the meds. I've been there. I don't really like it. Um,
Yeah.
I've gone on and off Prozac a couple times when the depression has gotten really bad in the past. But in general, I try to stay away from the medication. And then, when I went to Naval Hospital Portsmouth, I signed up and got into a intensive inpatient 1 week group therapy session. And that's what kind of opened that door for me. In that I learned that just kind of being around other people and talking about shared experiences, maybe they're not the same exact experience, but people that have walked that similar path as you, and just talking about it really, like, I've always said better out than in.
Yeah.
It's better to just get it out so it stops like sitting in there festering inside of you.
How do you feel about, really quick, how do you feel about, because I know this is something that like I struggle with at times, but I talk about it when people ask, like when people ask you about like experiences like on deployment, like I'm so conflicted about how to answer those types of questions, because it's like, they're not doing it out of like malice. It's more of curiosity, and it's like,
right.
like how do you navigate through that? Because I know that's something for me. For a while, it was really difficult to talk to a civilian, quote unquote, about like my experiences on deployment or my experiences in the military, because it's like, okay, yeah, I could drop a shit ton of fucks in like a few seconds and you're gonna be like, oh, that's crazy, like why would you do that? Or some of the things like I've laughed at, like they're like, why would you laugh at that? That's kind of like messed up. Like how do you see that, or how do you view that? Or
I mean, that's complicated, right? And there's a lot of nuance in that as well. I mean, I feel like when you're sitting there, and even vet to vet, it might not be, the right, like you maybe not sharing the same things here. I would say, and this is not a blow, this is not a judgment on anybody, but these days, people getting out of the military, a lot of them haven't deployed. Those sort of things that just kind of over time dried up. Like it's really only the spec ops people that are going out there and
that are
doing stuff these days. So that pool of people that have that shared experience is not as big as it used to be, probably. But we used to have a counseling session back at UNC Charlotte on Wednesdays for vets.
Yeah, I used to go to those. Those were super intense sometimes.
And in that environment, you could probably be open about things that you saw or experienced or did or whatever. When I personally, somebody asked me, I try to just kind of keep it vague, because there's really, I feel like if they don't have some kind of insight into that world, like it's not going to make any sense to them. It's just going to be like a weird, crazy story. Like, oh, life is like the movies or whatever,
Yeah.
And it's not. It's just like it's just a different dynamic, a different world of things. Like, yeah, we've kind of, some of us have gotten the like, how many people did you kill questions and like all that stuff.
You just say all of them.
And hey, I mean, the dark humor, right? Like for a lot of us, it's a refuge. Because things were so intense or things were too crazy, so you kind of poke fun of the morbid things, or whatever. Like that sense of humor doesn't fly with everybody.
Well, it's also different too, like being on deployment and like day after day, like having to see like things that you would see in the movies, or things that you like, well, I guess things you wouldn't see in the movies, only things that you like it alludes to, or like it's only so much of morbidity that they can show in like a film,
because in media it's portrayed as like heroic and like very good guy, bad guy, like all these things, but in real life it's like there's a lot of gray. Things are not that cool. Like the hero doesn't always win, like innocent people get hurt, and so those sort of things kind of clash in your head when you're seeing it in person. You're like, this doesn't make any sense. Like you can't like make sense of it, you know?
Right. And then when you come back into the States, like you said, like you had like an attitude adjustment. For me, it was more so like every little thing like would set me off. Like I'd freak out. Like if they would do like health and comfort inspections at like 5 o'clock in the morning when I'm dead ass asleep. And I remember the first time it happened, like they had like a health and comfort, which a health and comfort is like a surprise inspection that they do in your barracks room to make sure you don't have any contraband, like
any contraband out
any
in the open.
yeah, and like, and if it's not, then they like move your shit around to like try to find things, and things accidentally fall on the ground and you're just like fuck. But one time after, I think it was probably maybe a week after I got back from deployment, we had a health and comfort, and then all the HM1s and chiefs, they come by all of the rooms and like bang on the fucking door. And like, of course, the first thing I think, fucking hit the deck. I didn't have like any weapon or anything like that, so I jump off my rack and like get on the ground, and I like immediately start crying because there's nothing that I could do. Like I was like, oh fuck, it's here. And then like my roommate, which I'm still good friends with him now, his name's Joey. He's like, dude, it's okay. Like you're fine. You know, like he tried to like talk me out of it. It took a second to realize, oh shit, what's happening.
I mean, even that, like coming back, you feel naked for months until it kind of it wears off after a while.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, you know, you don't have a gun, you don't have armor, like you don't have your buddies around you to like watch your back. That's a weird feeling.
It is, because you're with these people for like 7 months. Like it's like being at home, like being on this lockdown that we have, social distancing stuff, like when you only could stay home and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, you're around the same people 24/7. Like there's a
and you're under attack.
Yeah, you know, I mean, like I don't know how many times I get dressed for morning and I go put my hand on my hip and it's like there's no pistol, and I'm like, wait, where is it? And I'd be like looking for my gun, and I'd be like, wait a second, I'm back home. Like I don't, you know, I have a gun, but like I don't carry it with me 24/7, you know?
Right.
So yeah, there's all those like little things, you know, coming back, driving around, you see a trash bag in the road, you're kind of like, is that a trash bag or is that like you know, is that something else, you know? But those sort of things that you know, I feel like our generation of people are dealing with, our generation of people that were in the military. You know, there's a lot of these younger, I say younger, but not that much younger than us.
Yeah.
You know, they're dealing with other stuff. Like, you know, you see all the crazy stuff going down at Fort Hood. You know,
it's so fucking crazy.
It's crazy. They just had another death, but it was like somebody died during a PT test or something, and it's like the 30th person has died on that base this year or something like that. You know, they're dealing with other issues that maybe we didn't have to deal with because it was a more deployable environment back when we were in.
And I want to point out too, like, I think a lot of times people associate PTSD with only being something exclusive to the military. However, that's not true. I actually know a lot of people that have PTSD that have never been in the military. One example of it is this professor that I had when I was at this community college in Raleigh. She got in a plane crash. She was in a plane crash, and like she's terrified being on planes. It's not like she doesn't want to go, and if she does go on them, she's like super sedated because she was in a plane crash. So
I mean, it can come from anything, and the severity of it, you know, the different levels and how it affects people are very subjective. You know, like a car crash for somebody could be very traumatic, and then for somebody else and not even bother them one bit. You know, I was talking to my therapist recently, and they were saying people that had like, there's research, she was gonna send me some articles, she probably did, I just didn't read them, that people that had more traumatic or chaotic childhoods are more susceptible to like later in life having more traumatic like PTSD episodes, if you will, because it's like this cyclical, like having that background sort of not doesn't really make you susceptible to it, but if something bad happens, then it kind of like rips the band-aid off of anything that you've like kind of healed up over time,
Right.
and then it like injures it in a way.
Send me that. I'd love to read that.
Yeah, I'll have to. I should probably send it to me. My email these days working from home is atrocious. I'm very much an inbox zero type person, and it is impossible these days to keep.
I wish I were a box zero. That's not the case for me at all.
Sylvia's got like 42,000 emails in her inbox.
I don't get that. But so a question was asked last week. Do you think it's different for men in the military to go and get mental health? Because I know for me, coming back from deployment, it took a long time before I actually got help. And it was one of my HM1s. She just kept asking, like, are you okay? Are you okay? And then like an HM2 I was under, because I ended up going to like a working supply away from people. And like, he was just like, dude, like, you need to fucking go get some help and like to talk to someone. But now, and like they like almost held my hand and walked me down to like go talk to someone and get help, because for a long time like there is that whole like machismo attitude, like I'm a fucking macho man and I don't need that shit. Like, so do you think it's like harder for men to like come to terms with it?
I can't
and like going to get help.
I can't give you an answer on that. I feel that just being in the military in general, it's harder. Like there's different things. Like men probably, and I hate to like kind of split it that way, but like dudes probably are more like it's an ego thing, right? And females or ladies, women, it's more of a perception thing. Like they don't want to be labeled a certain way or thought of differently if they go get help. And men like, oh, I don't want to be seen as weak, you know?
Yeah.
But dudes are like, I don't want to be seen as weak because I'm tough. And it's like this, you know, this thing, like for me, it happened pretty quick because I pulled a knife on a guy.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that could have been very bad, like honestly. And I'm very lucky that, you know, nothing really came of that in disciplinary issues or anything. But I mean, you know, I think all genders have plenty of roadblocks in their ways. I mean, I've had people on both sides complete suicide, you know, for a variety of reasons, and a lot of those people didn't reach out for any type of help. That like in a way that you could tell, like
right.
during there, that's a thing. Like speaking mental health in general, like there's a it's called QPR. It's one of these schools that helps teach about suicide prevention, and you know, I'm a trainer for that, and it's like a lot of different things. We talk about it all the time. Like you'll see cries for help, and you know, often you can help people and things like that, but then sometimes it catches you off guard and you don't see it happening, or it's a very complicated thing. And you know, I've seen it happen on both sides, men and women. Just asking for help, just going into the military, period. I think people think of themselves as more tough than quote unquote civilians. And, you know, there's a reluctancy to ask for help. Just in general, I think. It's a tough world.
Yeah.
It's a tough world. I mean, you think about things like the old perception that mental health or seeking help for mental health was going to ruin your career. You know, some people want to stay in for 20 years and retire. And so they like didn't want that as a black mark on their career or something. I think things are changing. I would like to hope that things are changing in that, you know, cultural attitude in the military and just in life in general. That like this younger generation of kids are, you know, I think, and if you look at it as a whole, are more open about things like with their mental health and seeking help for it. I mean, obviously you can take the extremes and make a big meme of it or whatever. But I think, you know, you look at the bell curve of it. I think most people in the younger generations after us are very open about their their trials and tribulations and seeking help and like trying to do, you know, take care of themselves the best they can. You know, you're gonna have your 10% on either side of like people on Tumblr that, you know, self-diagnose and do all this stuff, but you know, that's valid in its own way, I guess, but it's not the same.
It's really interesting being brought up in a time where there's so much technology, or technology is an abundance. Because like you meet a lot of people and like you develop like a lot of relationships and you learn how to talk to a lot of people. I was talking with Dan today, and Dan and I were just saying like, man, I'm so happy that we're in each other's lives or whatever, because it's like we thank you for that, Teats Red Heart. We became friends. Dan and I became friends from a video game, and like, although he wasn't in the military, like we have a lot in common, like as people, as men, as like, you know,
well,
individuals. And it's crazy like how we're able to do that, and we're able to talk to different people from different parts of the world that we weren't able to do, or people weren't able to do before. So it changes things for us, and it's easier for us to talk about these things. And like you said, people are more accepting. The younger generation, they're so much more accepting of everyone.
Yeah, I think one thing that helps is just you and I, at least the two of us, and a lot of people we know, don't wear the military thing as like a costume, you know,
right?
Like we don't, that's not our entire personality. We're talking about it a lot today, more than we normally talk about it. Like 99% of our interactions, we don't really bring up the military or anything, like, you know, like it's just like a chapter of our lives.
Yeah.
And I think that's a healthier attitude for a lot of people. These days are so, like, don't get me started on social media and how it's damaging for mental health, because like that's I don't have, in the 20 minutes ish that's left, I couldn't say it all, you know, like that's like an 8-hour rant from me. I just think that people kind of getting stuck in their like little echo chambers, and it's not helping them, you know, to be just banging their chest like I'm a vet, that's the only, you know, that's it for their personality, and not trying to grow, you know, as like people.
I think like that's something I realized, or I recognized really quick, like being out of the military. When I first got out, I was pretty motivated when I got out. Like I cut my hair. Like when you first met me, like I still got my hair cut.
I still did it too. I mean, when we first met each other, I don't think we ever really said anything about it, but it changed over time. Like I also, like, I wasn't wearing my boots or anything, but like I had the tactical backpack, I had the hat with the flag patch, like I tried to grow a beard, which I can't, you know, like that,
it's like the rite of passage. You get that way, like, and I think everyone goes through it when they first get out of the military, unless it's someone that like completely hated the military. But like even then, like you still carry it with you, because although a lot of negative things could have like happened in the military, or could have happened to people in the military, there's a lot of positive too, like with being a veteran, and there's a lot of different like programs to help us, which is really nice, because at time there was times where I felt like I had nothing, and there's just scary things going on. And Teats Red Heart in our chat like posted some good information, some phone numbers for suicide hotline and LGBTQ hotline and counseling services, and for some in Spanish as well. Today I didn't realize that it's World Suicide Prevention Day, and like if you or you know anyone
scheduled this.
Oh no, it's every Thursday. I didn't realize it, but I do know that now. I think it's important to reach out and like talk to people when you can. Try to make amends. Like I think that's like a big thing, and something that I've been struggling with recently. within the last year, I've been trying to make amends with people because I realize that at times I've been a shitty person at times. Everyone has been a shitty person in their life, and I realize, like, as I'm getting older, which I turned 31 this month, life is way too fucking short to be pissed off all the time, to have like a grudge about whatever. Like, just revisit things. Like, that's the best thing that we all can do. Like, as people revisit it, come back later, and if you get the cold shoulder from whomever, or you don't get the results that you're expecting with something, that's what you're given at that time, and take a different avenue. It's a different route at that point, and navigate somewhat forward. But
Yeah, I mean,
definitely.
that goes back to the better out than in. I mean, like holding on to stuff just never is never a good thing. Like, like these things that could be like, oh, it's a slight, and then you hold on to it, and then that turns into resentment, and then that turns into hate, and then it's just like the never ending struggle of that. I mean, I have had a lot of things that happen to me, and I've towed the line, I've gone over the line, I've done really bad things,
Yeah.
all that's happened in my life. But, for me right now in this moment, the way I am healing is I'm going and I'm talking to my therapist mostly about things that happened in my childhood and things I'm holding on to from 30 years ago.
Right.
you know, like stuff from so far long ago that's like, oh, well, this happened. You didn't feel this need or want that was fulfilled, and it has a lasting impact on you. It's great to go to therapy and talk about how last Tuesday some guy cut you off in traffic and you were mad, but is that really kind of like the root of things? Like a lot of times you got to dive deep and kind of go way further back and get over those. And saying get over is not trying to be flippant or,
Yeah.
like making light of things. I mean, like work through issues from a long
It's
time
tough.
ago. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, it's really tough.
And one of the things I wrote down in our document that we were talking about earlier today, mental health is like physical health. Like it's not, you're not cured. There's no check mark. You're good to go. Like it's a constant battle. It's constant maintenance. I mean, the two are closely related. I know when I'm in a good headspace, I'm also in a good physical space because I want to do things like work out. Battle's known me for 4 years. You've seen me lose weight 2 or 3 times now, probably. Right. I go through this like cycle where every year around the same time when, I had a lot of friends die and stuff, I'll start feeling down and then I'll get depressed and then I'll slide into that depression, and it's so easy to slide in there.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what else is going on in your life, how great your family is or whatever. It's real easy to just slide in there.
It's a roller coaster, dude.
Yeah, I'll just eat my feelings away, and then and then eventually I go, hey man, gotta get it together, gotta do the hard work again, and then I dig myself out of that pit. So it's one of those things that you can't ever really just be done with it. It's just a constant. You got to put the work in.
So
tough.
how do you think like we as men should start addressing like mental health and like talking about it? Because I know it's terrible to like label things, but what I'm noticing with other men in my life, like we have an issue. Like a lot of the men in my life have an issue with seeking mental health or being proven like wrong. Humility. We have a problem with humility. So like how can we do better like as men so that way we could do great with like women, with everyone else? Like how can we perpetrate something different than what's happening now?
I think that's also, all these issues are very complicated.
And don't worry, I have women on this too, because like women have to be a part of the conversation because women are part of the solution. Like,
well, I mean, I just think one of my things that I think about a lot of times is like just masculinity, toxic masculinity, those sort of things is very damaging, because it's, you to not be the alpha male is, like judgment, or labeling you as weak or something like that. The older I get, the less those things matter to
I don't
me
give a
anymore.
shit, right?
I don't
Like,
care. I really don't care.
so you
don't.
think it's with age too? Age plays a big part, and
I think age does. I mean, I also feel that like not you're a 13-year-old child in the body of a man, but I aged mentally a lot. I'm like an 80-year-old man in the body of a 30-year-old right now.
bro, shut up. You can build computers. You like help me build my computer.
So
He
like,
can build computers. He's downplaying his ability, his mental.
I'm not
ability.
saying I have Alzheimer's. I'm saying
That's exactly what he's saying.
I'm old and crotchety. Like I just stopped caring what people think of me in general a long time ago. Like that. When I was a younger kid, I was just, all I was worried about was how the world thought of me. And I used to be like, I was very poor. I only had so many shirts and so many pants or whatever. I was so afraid to like wear the same thing too many times in a week. Right. And that was one of my things. I was like, I can't wear this shirt twice in the same week, because then people know I'm poor and I don't have clothes. And then one day I kind of realized, like, I don't remember what Billy Bob over there was wearing yesterday. I don't remember what anybody in this room was wearing yesterday.
Yeah.
So I don't think people cared about me, and something clicked in my brain where I was just like, oh, it doesn't really matter. That like fear of what other people think went away for me kind of a long time ago. And so going into the masculinity thing, I don't care about being tough. Like people crack dick jokes and whatever. They're like, oh, you're Asian, you got a little penis. Okay. Like, what? So what? First off, so what? Secondly, like, it doesn't hurt but this doesn't hurt my feelings or anything. Like, so I think, obviously going back to your question, your relationship with somebody obviously influences that. Like if it was you, I would just be like, hey man, like I could talk to you more candidly. Right. Like I could like you could fucking snap out of it, or like, let's go do this or something like that. But like men in general, it can be a little bit more tough, because if you say something, like maybe they're going to take it the wrong way, or you're trying to emasculate them or something like that. Right. And that might push them in the wrong direction. So it's like, how do you find that line for somebody? For our close friends, people that we know, I think you can be more direct and say things, and I'm not coming from a place of like I'm trying to pass judgment on you or something. But one of the things is I stayed at UNC Charlotte. I worked there, and so I work in the Veteran Services office, and there are a lot of vets that come through our office, and occasionally there's the ones that need help, and I just try to be like empathetic and just say like, hey, I've been there, I've done, like, let me tell you my story, so you're not with them, you're not alone in this sort of thing. And that's how I kind of get in the day-to-day, how I make that happen. But like talking amongst ourselves as men, like there's that line there's that issue of or just masculinity in general that I think is it's a hurdle in this whole thing.
It is, and that's something that I recognize a lot, and I still catch myself being that way, like with little things, assuming that someone doesn't know how to do this, so let me show you, where it's like, okay, if you just listen and let me show you before you try to show me, you can see that like there's only a certain spot I need help with. I think that's something that like I actively work on, and I try to think and like try to listen and think a lot more than what is happening,
Somebody bought some of your merch.
Anonymous just bought white logo.
Buy more. It wasn't me.
Anonymous. Thank you, Anonymous. But it's something that I like work on, and it's something that like through working on it, like I notice other people being more like, I notice it a lot more in other people, and it's so hard to like combat it in like a way that it's not aggressive, and talk about it and say like, hey dude, like maybe you didn't have to say it like that, or maybe you could have like said this, and you know. And
I think one of the things too that I know you, and I'm sort of the same way a lot of the way times too, is we're problem solvers, you know. So if there's like a problem, it's like problem A, the solution is B. Let me, you know, take care of it. And a lot of times I had to learn this is like people just want to be heard. They don't want some, you know, a lot of times they're not asking you to fix it for them. They just need somebody to vent to or something like that. I think that's another thing in this whole thing of mental health is like we're not listening to our friends enough. You know, just I think a lot of times just being that person to just get unloaded on, just so someone else can like take a load off, it would be more helpful. You know, I mean, just talking to your friends more in general, I think is a good thing, because this rolls back into my thing about social media. You know, a lot of people are just like, they're just throwing it out there into this like whirlwind vortex of everybody and their opinion, and you know, it gets weird where you don't know all these people sometimes. And so I think being there for your friends, like in a closer knit circle, a community, is definitely a way to help combat things that are you know, negative mental health issues.
Yeah, it's really, I think it's important to like have those people around, and but not just have them around, but listen to these people, because I think it means a lot when someone goes to you or comes to you and say, hey man, I need to talk to you about this, or hey, I need your opinion. That means a lot to the person that's receiving that, or the person that is like on the giving end. So for both parties, like it could be so beneficial, because I know when I selflessly do something, I selfishly feel happy. So like I think even though like I am being selfless, in a sense I'm being selfish at the same time, because it makes me feel good doing things for people. Like, I feel so great. Like
the age-old philosophy thing about altruism, the argument about it. I mean, you and I have had plenty of talks, you know, like confiding in each other over events and things like that. I mean, you're always a person that I know I can reach out to if I do have something, you know, something going on in my life. I mean, because a lot of times it's really hard to even talk to the people that are closest to you. You know, like you don't want to feel like a burden on them and things like that. Which are all in the end sometimes things that, like, you know, maybe they want to help and things like that. But sometimes you, as the person going through the thing, might feel safer going to someone that you know has experienced the same thing or something like that, you know. So finding your own support group in a way, while challenging, is a good thing.
Yeah, beyond that. So like you mentioned, not being able to talk to people like that are closest to you. So how does like your mental health or people's mental health affect you, like as a father and a husband and a brother, all the different ways I could label you as? Like, how does it affect you?
Like, you know, I know that for me, I just want to tell people go to therapy. you know,
Go to therapy.
Like, go to therapy.
Try
get a therapist. Try it out. You know, like, because I know that my issues, you know, affect others. One of my things is to get really defensive. I very easily get defensive because I feel that I don't take criticism well in a way. And I read things as like a personal attack almost, you know, just like way too often. And that all stems back to childhood stuff, you know. for the way my mom talked to me and things like that. So the defensiveness I know is something that I've been working on and through for a long time. It's gotten to the point where I have like a physical tell. My voice gets higher pitched whenever I get defensive. So I do the whole like, what are you talking about? You know, I do that. I do that. And so it's a little easier for me to catch these days and work on and, hey, take a second. Sorry. You know, that sort of thing.
I do some. I don't have like inflection in my voice, but like I have it changes into like a staccato, so sharp and short like word, and it's very like over the top words that I'll start using. That's when you know it's like, oh, okay, like he's starting to get mad. That's like what I can tell, or yeah, I understand what.
Yeah, I've only seen you get mad a few times, like maybe twice.
I've been mad a lot.
Yeah, and that my anger is the thing that I try to work on the most. My inner rage is something I don't want out there, and so like I try very hard to be calm. And so that's, you know, that's one of those reasons that I stay in therapy, is because I don't want to ever hurt anybody or do anything that could hurt somebody, you know. And so the only person that can take responsibility of that is me.
Exactly.
You know?
I agree with you there, and I agree with super casualistic. Therapy is good, and it's good for people, not just self or ourselves, but for everyone around you.
Yeah,
I agree, and that's something I could do more of, is talk to my therapist more. I talked to her maybe a month ago, and I will talk to her again. You're a little blurry.
Oh, I am.
And then there you go. And then I'll talk to her again like this month sometime, but I need to make it something that's more often, because there are times where journaling isn't enough, and it's nice. Can you see this?
Oh, your cat.
She was just scratching. There have been times where, like, you know, journaling isn't enough, and just talking to friends isn't enough, and sometimes you just want someone that's not in the sauce that you want to talk to you about. And it's not anything against like anyone that I'm around or anyone that's in my like inner circle. It's just
it's often that a therapist, because they're not in your circle, is the person that can push you the furthest, that can make you dig into those things. Where like me as a buddy, like I might not want to push you to, you know, I want to like make sure you're good, but I'm not trying to make you like work through your issue, right? And a therapist would be like, no, go back, you know, talk about talk, you know, and they're gonna dig into that wound and you know, really get in there and try to enforce you to like deal with the issue on hand. So I mean, sometimes, you know, it takes an outsider coming in that way.
I think it goes back to like humility too. It's hard to face it's hard to face the fact that something is wrong, and like something is wrong because of whatever you're feeling internally. Also, like what resonates a lot with what you've said is like accountability. Accountability is so key to make progressions forward in your own mental health, like being accountable for the things that you're feeling, because we know that external forces may change around us and can cause us to feel some way, but what we know for sure is how we react to everything. That's what we can control, is like our reaction to anything that happens external ourselves.
Right.
So, I guess the last thing, like, how do you think we can grow together, like, as people, like everyone? How do you think we can grow together? I know you're pretty tall.
No, I'm not even talking about that joke. I was thinking of another thing. So this is a kind of a pet peeve of mine, but I've done a million interviews. You know, we interview people all the time to work in our office, and we always say some stuff like, what's the best skill to have, and or what do you think is the most important thing on a team, and blah 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 blah. And people always say communication. That's always the answer. Like one time I sat through 12 interviews in a day, and literally every single one of them said communication. And then I thought to myself, we really just don't communicate well, like everyone.
Right.
Right. Like, yeah, everyone says communication, let's work on communication, but do we actually do that? Do we actually work on communication? So I mean, it's just I had a really tough week of therapy last Tuesday, and we dug into some like real traumatic stuff. And my therapist at the end of it was like, listen, you need to talk to your family and let them know that like this is what we talked about today, and you're probably going to be on edge for a while and things like that, and like try to work with everybody and communicate that you went through this. And me, I'm like I'm fine. I'm good, I don't need to do that. And then like some little thing happened, and then I got all defensive, and I started arguing with Sylvia, and then I could hear it in my head, like the therapist being like, you didn't tell anybody that we just dug around in the darkest parts of your brain for an hour.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to do that.
Yeah, so it's that communication bit. Like if I had said that off the rip, maybe I could have prevented any issues.
I think that's something relatable to everyone. Zero said, I feel this so hard, especially with how things are going at work. Like I'm assuming the communication thing, like it's so hard to like communicate effectively to where everyone understands it. And I think it's because people are afraid to say how they're feeling. I don't have a tough time with it, like when it comes to situations like that, when it comes to situations at like work, things like that, because I know that in order for me to perform at any task that I do, I need to be kept in the loop. I need to know like what's going on. I need to plan. I need a plan. That's how I am. And so if something is unclear to me, I am very likely to go to whomever I need to go to find an answer, because it stresses me out. I know if I get stressed, then I know how I'll act when I'm stressed out. So when I'm stressed, like so mean. We'll say mean things, and I don't mean to, and it's like it comes back to like what you're saying, communication. What Zero's going through, communication.
Yeah. The next comment from Zero, I mean, like the speaking up for me has never been a hard part. I kind of just will call people out and do things like that all the time, but I don't like anything to make it look like I'm complaining. I don't. Right. That part, like I really resonate with that. Like I don't want to ever seem like I'm complaining about anything, because I want to be known as that person that just grits my teeth and gets it done no matter what. Like no matter what, yeah. I will get it done. Often I found the older I get, that's very detrimental to things like mental health, family relationships, like, all that stuff. I mean, when I was in the Navy, man, I'd go to work at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I wouldn't go home until 8 or 9 at night. Like that's not good. That is not good. But at the time it was like, I'm going to get this done. And right. I'm gonna be the one that's known, like you can come to me. There's a consequence and a you science nerd. There's a reaction to everything and whatever, that Newton's law thing. I was a philosophy major. Not good at
Zero knows what that is. Zero is also a science nerd.
Yeah. Like that whole burning the candle at both ends thing is not sustainable. And that's a topic for another day, talking about like work and how you go about that.
I'm okay with sounding like complaining, because like sometimes I need to complain. Like I'm just gonna throw this out there, like I need to complain.
Yeah, it's a childhood thing for me. That's like there's like a mental block.
That's how it was like when I was a kid too. Like my dad was very, very like douchebaggy about like the way that I felt, and always complain. You always complain, and you always have a problem. And it's like for a long time, I was afraid to like have any problem, or I was afraid like, oh, I don't want to, like you said, be a burden on anyone. It's like if I don't know something and I keep letting something happening, and these people, yeah, like more and more, like these people are doing the same exact thing over and over. It's like just get sick to your stomach, and then you're walking on eggshells, and it's so difficult to like navigate through that, like by holding it all in. And just after a while, it's not just something that bothers you like a little bit, it's like something that's really affecting like your day-to-day like work.
I mean, Zero's talking about like deadlines and stuff. I mean, at my job, it's a very seasonal thing. So it's like I'll have nothing to do for months where I'm just reading or watching Netflix or whatever, doing nothing. And then it's like a short, compressed time period of like just balls to the wall, working like crazy. And I find that in long term, I know that's not great. You know, for right now, I can handle it. It's not, you know, things like that. But like I'm definitely have my eye further along. Like I need to get more education so I can get a promotion so I can stop doing this.
Right.
Because this is a young person's game to be doing this, you know, like this.
Yeah, there's always this like there's a couple times a year where it's like we don't talk as much. It's like do stuff.
Yeah.
This process. I got this process, and I recognize that in it.
And,
I see you through it. I see like going through it.
That's why you got to be a boss.
Keep going, dude.
If I could be Rick Ross and own a like 18 wing stops like the man does, he's fine. He doesn't have to rap ever again.
Yeah, I would love to be able to do that. I don't think I'd ever do it, to be honest with you. I don't think I would want to own a business. I think that's too much. I'd rather like work behind the scene, let someone else take the credit for that stuff. Not this guy.
Hey.
But do you have anything else that you want to talk about?
So one of the things I put on there is Team Rubicon. So I don't want to. I'm not here to like promote Team Rubicon. I'll just say like Team Rubicon, if people haven't heard of that, is a disaster relief oriented nonprofit. It was started by a group of veterans that went down to assist in the earthquakes and tsunamis in Haiti back in 2010.
Was it 2010?
I don't.
It was pretty early, like when that happened. I think it was before deployment.
Yeah. So it's not
2010.
Just,
super casualist.
So it's not just vets, but you know, there's a lot of it's for everyone. But
one of civilians is what they say.
That's true. But the thing about Team Rubicon, why I put it on here to talk about, is it is for a lot of people a group of like-minded individuals, and so sometimes these people are coming from where they're the only vet or they're the only person that thinks a certain way or whatever, and now suddenly you're surrounded and you have that sense of belonging again. And for a lot of people, it's a very positive experience. So the reason I bring it up in the first place is just that's an important part of mental health. Like people, we all like to think, you know, I'm a lone wolf, I can take care of it, blah, 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 blah. But it takes a tribe. I mean, humans in general are just kind of tribal people. It's how we're meant to be, is with a group of, you know, people. So find your people, whoever they are. You know, and these days, like you were saying, technology has expanded our groups and expanded the world. I mean, I play video games pretty much every night with people all over the country. You know, people from the West Coast, Canada, whatever, Europe, Australia, like.
Zero's a good friend that we met from video games. Dan.
There's a lot of people.
Great people. Awesome.
Yeah, you meet them that way, and then you know you've been playing with them for a while, and some of these people I play with, I've been playing with for years now. At this point, you know, so it's finding your people that understand you, that you can lean on, that they can lean on you. It's a very important thing for positive mental health.
No. Thank you. Is there anything else that you want to?
I love you, and I can't wait for this coronavirus thing to be over, so I can kiss you again.
Yeah. Lips.
Lips. Both lips.
No Carmex. Yeah. That's something we didn't get to touch on. Is normalizing guys saying they love each other.
Yeah.
I fucking tell Chris that I love him all the time.
Like every day we talk to each other, and we both say it constantly, and even in public.
Yes, I don't care. Like I love him.
Yeah.
He's a great dude. I love all my guy friends, and I'm not afraid to tell them that I love them, and I don't feel awkward about it. Like, so guys out there, don't feel awkward to tell your guy friends that you love them. Give them hugs. You could give them kisses if you want. I'm not gonna judge you. Just be happy. Like fucking.
You and I can't kiss that much because we both have mustaches, and it like gets in the way.
It gets tangled.
Yeah.
And it keeps us close. But yeah, dude, thank you so much for your time. I know that you don't lock anybody during a pandemic. Lick anybody during a pandemic. Yeah.
Don't tell me what to do.
I know that time is like super valuable because it's finite, and the fact that you took an hour and some change out of your like life to come onto a live stream and talk about the feels, talk about your bromances, talk about like life, like it means a lot to me, and I thankful to have you in my.
You're one of my best friends, and I love you. I think that you're family, and so I'm always happy to help. I don't care what Super Casualistic said. I want to lick you.
That's fine, dude.
From your head to your toes.
I don't taste like chocolate. That's a big lie. So if that's what you're trying to get, like, probably a little salty right now.
I'm diabetic. I can't do that, but
I've got some sugar for you, baby.
I'm here for you no matter what you need, and this is an important thing to talk about, so that's why also I felt like it deserved time, and I didn't want to just leave you hanging or anything like that. It's an important thing to talk about. The world is not getting any less scary these days. The more that we have news and people are connected through the internet and things like that, we're seeing more and more. And humanity in general is not all rainbows and sunshine. So it's an important thing for everybody to keep a good check on your mental health these days. So
thanks, dude. I love you.
I love you too.
And everyone, thanks for tuning in and watching. I know Keishan, my buddy Keishan, bought one of the big mouse pads, which I didn't realize how big it is. It takes up my whole desk. And also Jake for buying a t-shirt. That anonymous was Jake. I appreciate you, dude. And I appreciate everyone out here. Stay up. Go talk to someone if you need it. Give hugs when you can. And love each other. But thank you so much.
All right.
See you.
Bye-bye.